Hi VC, long time no see. Apologies for that. Life's just gotten in the way. Dealing with the aftermath of Joel's mum's death, and being really busy at work. Just had a couple of weeks holiday as well, where we decided it was just going to be a holiday and we weren't going to be doing much of anything. So apologies if I've not been commenting as much as I normally do on people's videos. I'm sure I'll start that up again today, probably. Going to do a new arrivals video. Got some new vinyl, some albums, CDs, and 7-inches that I picked up at a local market. Stalls were much better than the one that's local to me in Wallsend. This market takes place in Tynemouth, which is about 5 miles away on the local metro system. Had about 5 or 6 different stalls selling vinyl and CDs, and I managed to pick up some good stuff for a reasonable price, so I was quite happy with that. The more attentive of you will know, those of you who are looking will notice that there's a different viewpoint. This is what I used to look at when I was taking the videos. It's now taken from behind me. Over here I've got a new rack to get some of the vinyl in. So this is a Helix 8 stack thing from IKEA. That was fun putting that up, although I did it in pretty good time without too much swearing. So I've managed to move A through E into there, and the rest of it's still on the back wall, and it's still, yeah, a bit of a mess, so I'm not going to show you that. And then I've got the hi-fi rack down here. I'll eventually do a proper sort of room tour so you can see what's happening. Go on, I'll spin this around a little bit here. And you can see behind me, that's part of the beer collection. I shan't be having any of that at the moment because it is early in the morning, and hence the need for the light behind me. There's just not enough natural light this morning, so I shan't be having a beer. It's a little bit early even for me. Anyway, on to the records. I'll start with the 2 new ones I've picked up since I last saw you. I mean, summer. I haven't been buying a lot. There's a good number of albums that I've got ordered that are coming through. One I think probably landed yesterday. There's a box over there, but I'm not going to open that yet. I'll save something for a later video. Right, okay, anyway. First album is the new album from Styx. This is Mission, black vinyl. This is their first album in about 14 years. The previous album, Cyclorama, was a little bit of a surprise to me. I really, really enjoyed that. There was a track on there called These Are the Days, which was an outstanding track. I've only given this a cursory listen so far, and it seems to be in a very similar vein, so I've got high hopes for it. I'm going to give it a proper listen today. Styx. You know, I mean, most people would think, what have they got to offer these days? But Cyclorama was a great album. I've got high hopes for that one. And then a bit of a blast from the past. This is Free, Fire and Water. This is the Abbey Road half-speed mastering. It's a brilliant album. You know, it's got Fire and Water, which is probably my favourite Free song. All Right Now, Heavy Load. You know, it's a great album. It wasn't cheap. I mean, the remastering series picked some really good albums to do, but This cost me the best part of 30 quid. Normal circumstances, wouldn't have bought it. However, I've got a really good friend who is turning 50 this year, and it's her favourite album. And she wants to have this played as part of a listening session, a la Steve Drayton's record player, the thing I've talked about in past videos, and didn't have a copy, so I thought, well, two birds, one stone. Bit of a present for her so she can have a listen to it on her birthday, and I get a good album. So there you go. Right, going back in time now. This is the next run of albums. I think there's only one that doesn't sort of sit in the 80s. This one, Pat Benatar, Live from Earth. It's a part live, part studio album. I'm sorry for the glare here. I'm saying there's no light, but there's no light that's actually shining on anything that'll sort of help the camera. Pat Benatar, what can I say? Absolutely love her. It's a great live album. I mean, there's only, what, 6 live tracks? Is it 6 live tracks? 7, 8 live tracks and 2 studio tracks. Studio tracks, I mean, Lovers Battlefield was one of her biggest hits. Then was it Lipstick Lies? Yeah. Lipstick Lies is alright, it's not brilliant. But I mean, the track listing for the rest of it's excellent. Fire and Ice, which is my favourite Pat Benatar song. So if you've got, there's a clue for bands out there. If you've got a track that contains fire and something, whether it be Fire and Water from Free or Fire and Ice from Pat Benatar, it's likely to be my favourite track by you. Okay? Just for future reference. Anyway, Pat Benatar. This cost me £4, I think, and it's in, I mean, the cover's got a couple of little slight marks on the cover, but generally in very good plus shape. Vinyl's near mint. Not sound on it when I played it, so that's well, other than what was meant to be there. So there you go. Next up, back in the 80s again. This is 1987. This is a band called Mammoth. And this was a, I was going to say it's a spoof in a way, in that chaps in this band were all of a size. Large chaps. You had John McCoy, who was in Ian Gillan's solo band. You've got Nicky Moore, who was in Samson, and also did vocals for Uli John Roth at the time. Then you've got Kenny Cox. Kenny Cox was guitarist in new wave of British heavy metal band More. And I can't remember the drummer's name. Tubbins or something like that. And of course there's nothing on the back. But as you can see, they're all, you know, of a size. They weren't your sort of svelte rock gods. This is brilliant, brilliant album. If you've never heard this, give it a play. If you like your hard rock with a slightly sort of bluesy style, very sort of British touches of new wave of British heavy metal, but not really. It's definitely more of its time, sort of more of an 80s sound. But there's this track in here called Fat Man, which is brilliant, and Can't Take the Hurt, which is a sort of power ballad thing, which excellent. Nicky Moore, stunning voice. But yeah, Mammoth. Again, I think I paid £4 for that. And yeah, so still in the 80s, 1985, and Fiona Flanagan. Oh, cruddy this. Very AOR, as you might expect. This is her debut album. As you might imagine, one of my teenage crushes. Although I wasn't a teenager at this point. Okay, one of my mid-20s crushes. But she got a great voice as well. Very AOR, female-fronted AOR. Those of you who've seen the film, is it Burning Hearts? I think with Bob Dylan, she plays the love interest in that, and she's appeared in Miami Vice and things like that. She actually packed in the music business for a lot of years, went to college in the States, I'm going to say UCLA, and ended up working for an accountancy firm, but has recently come back and done some more music related stuff. So there you go, Fiona. I've got a couple more of her albums, and they're all good. If you like female-fronted AOR, you're not going to go far wrong. The next one's a bit of a shout out to Final Boy Trigger. This one, called Chisel, East. Aussie group who never really made it over in the UK or Europe or the States, I don't think, but absolutely brilliant. Final Boy Trigger has recently done a sort of video history of Cold Chisel, and we've been talking back and forwards. I got a few Cold Chisel things on CD, and some Jimmy Barnes stuff on CD and vinyl, but didn't have any Chisel on album. And literally the day after we talked about this, picked this up for a £5. Great. This is the standard version. It's not the American version. I used to have a tape cassette of the American version, which has a different track list and has my favourite Cold Chisel track on it. It hasn't got fire in the title. Called K-San on it. This is different tracks. This doesn't have that particular track on it, but it's a great album. Choir Girls is on this. Is that right? Yeah, Choir Girl, which is a brilliant song in its own right. But yeah, Jimmy Barnes, brilliant voice, was once considered for vocal duties in Van Halen. So check them out. Really good stuff. And going a little bit proggy jazz fusiony, Brand X. This is a band that Phil Collins was in the sort of late 70s, early 80s. At the same time, he was in Genesis, and that kind of caused problems with the band. He couldn't sort of offer the band up as much time as he would have liked. So this is the last album to feature him. And in reality, this is, I mean, it came out in early 82. But this is, it's basically outtakes from a late 70s album called Product. I'm not sure how much of this was actually worked on or whether it is just the tapes. Certainly one of the tracks here, see if you can see that, so it's TMUATIGA. Yeah, well, whatever, you can read it, I can't. Which stands for they're making it up as they go along. And basically that was just a tape recording of them jamming in the studio. If you don't like jazz fusion, you're not going to like this. But I do like a bit just to kind of confound myself now and again. And we'll go back in the 80s again. And Billy Squier. This is his 5th album. Enough is Enough. Sort of, again, AOR, sort of light hard rock. This is the last album of Billy's that I particularly like. The 3 prior to this were superb. This was kind of a bit of a drop off in quality, I thought. There's a couple of good tracks on here. Love is the Hero, which features Freddie Mercury on vocals. Billy and Freddie were good friends. And Lady with a Tenor Sax, which is a co-write with Freddie Mercury. It's a good album, but it's just not as strong as his previous stuff. It's the last album of his I bought. I had it on cassette. And again, I think I picked this up for £4. Right. Might as well. I've got one more vinyl album to do. Kind of falls out with. This is the only other one that doesn't feature from that stall. My sister has a friend at work who uncle had died, and he had a massive stack of vinyl, and they were just kind of giving it away basically. So there was about 100 albums, and basically I could just go along, pick out what I wanted, and walk away with it. Yeah. There wasn't a lot that I particularly fancied. I mean, this was weird stuff. I mean, he had about 40 accordion albums. Very strange. A lot of Irish accordion stuff. He had some rock and roll things, some doo-wop stuff, but the stuff that I fancied was in shocking condition. I managed to get 2, one of which I haven't pulled, so I might show it a later date. But I did pick up that Golden Killer Rock, Bill Haley and the Comets. It's basically a compilation. It's on the Hallmark, which is sort of subsidiary of Pickwick. It's not in the world's greatest condition. I'm humming and hawing what to do with it. It's probably going to end up in a charity shop. I'll give it another play if I'm feeling brave enough and see what it's like. But yeah, that was the only thing, well, one of 2 things I could salvage out of the pack of over 100 albums. Anyway, couple of CDs, couple of Aussie bits and pieces. So No More Tears and Down to Earth. Don't know if I've ever heard this. Down to Earth. I kind of lost. This was kind of the last Aussie album that I paid any attention to, really. I probably have heard that somewhere along the line. Not sure. But yeah, £1 each. So give them a go. Cases are a little scuffy, but discs are in good nick, so that was fine. And then Black Crowes Greatest Hits. Don't have any Black Crowes stuff. They're one of those bands that I couldn't get into initially when the first kind of started. Don't know what it was, just didn't click. But I've heard stuff subsequently, and I have found I've liked it, so there you go. Again, £1. I wasn't going to turn that up. And then a whole bunch of singles. And again, these were all £1. And I got some discount for buying in bulk, so work out under £1 each. So, Blackfoot EP. Where are we? There you go. So it's Dry County with Too Hard to Handle on the back. And then there's a free single with On the Run and Train. So there you go. It's quite a nice thing. Remember, my mate had this back in the day. So for £1 or less, I wasn't going to argue that. And good old Y&T, Midnight in Tokyo. Back with Barroom Boogie. So, quite nice. Majority of these are in a sort of rock vein. Great White, bit of damage on the cover there, but again for less than £1. Rock Me, great track. Put that one at the end. Bit of Sammy, Piece of My Heart, Baby's on Fire is the B-side off Standing Hampton. Can't go wrong with Sammy. FMs, sort of British soft rockers, Frozen Heart. Again, Gatefold. Got the FM family tree. There you go. Great stuff. Seen FM loads of times. If you like sort of blues, I mean, certainly to the sort of latter days, become much more bluesy. Still having a very melodic, slightly AOR type style, but much more of a classic British blues rock type thing. Highly recommend them. Genesis, that's all. So again, £100. And then to sort of non-rock stuff. Although I suppose Nick Kershaw, wouldn't it be good? Sort of pop rock. I always had a soft spot for Nick Kershaw. Track he did called The Riddle, which was superb. So I picked that up. And then a bit of country. Picked this up after seeing one of these guys mentioned a load on Farley's channel and Andy's Vinyl Den. And this is Dwight Yoakam, who I had heard of, and Buck Owens. So that was a Dwight Yoakam solo thing on the other side. So I'm assuming it's probably a Dwight Yoakam single, and this is the flip side. But yeah, so I thought I'd pick that up. 87. There you go, quid. Sorry, I've just kind of flown through that. I've got a few more videos I want to get done today. There are a number of contests out and about at the moment that I'd like to put entries in for, just to support the channels. I've missed a couple, which I do apologise. Like I say, life just gets in the way sometimes. I'll try and make the next ones a little bit more coherent. It's strange sitting in front of the camera again, and having a different backdrop. Perhaps I will have one of those beers just to sort of help me along. But anyway, good to see you all. Take care, VC, and unfortunately for you, there'll be a bit more of me later on today.